Well, it's Wednesday. We were going to try to do a Zoom meeting to help us out with this, but the Zoom meeting, we had too many people having difficulty kind of being a little laggy on their internet side of things. We'll try it again next Wednesday, same time, 11 o'clock. And let's just go ahead and I'll talk through the video of what we're supposed to do today, okay? So today, we're working on what is called combined operations. A combined operation will involve two different operations. Hold on a sec. We're going to work on 2 and 3. Okay, so we have to isolate the letter, and then we have to find only one letter. I'm going to set that right there so you can kind of see what we're supposed to do. So I'm going to go through a couple of more problems just so that we have an idea of how to do these. So we're going to be having decimals and fractions like we had on the previous 2 lessons that I shared videos with. We're just adding that element of adding and subtracting with it, okay? So on this section, we have to do the add and subtract first, then the multiply or divide or reciprocal second. I went through 2 problems with the video meeting. I'll go through each one of those examples of like those again. But I want to go ahead and do one that has a fraction in it. Let's take a look at this one. So we have, and that, I don't know if that's too high. Hold on, I'm going to check. No, perfect. Okay, so we've got 3.3 over 2, and that's connected to a variable, c minus 8 equals 22. Okay, so here's what we do. We need to isolate the letter first, which means we're going to add or subtract away what's on the side where the letter is at. The negative 8 or minus 8 is on this side. I have to do the opposite operation. Add 8 to both sides. Okay, that's step 1. And when I do that, these 2 cancel out, and this comes down. And then we add, because that's the sign we're using, 22 plus 8, which would give me 30. Now, we do the third step. Only one letter, multiply, divide, or reciprocal. We have a fraction in this one, so we do the reciprocal. Times it by 2/3 on both sides. Okay? These cancel. We get that only one letter, C, after those cancel out. Over here, put 30 over 1, and then look to cancel before we multiply across. Okay? There's a number that goes into both 3 and 30. I think you can see it. It is 3. 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 will go into 30 10 times. 10 times 2. 20. 1 times 1, you can put it over 1. We're going to get rid of it anyway. The answer is C equals 20. So when you have a fraction kind of problem, these are the steps you got to do for. If you need to go back and look at this again, you can review how we do one with a fraction. Let's look at the next type of problem. Okay, this is similar to one we did, but I'm just doing it so we got an idea. If we have one like this, (46) plus 12d equals 106. So, first step, isolate the letter. Where's the letter? This is it right here. If you have to, I like to circle it so I know that's the part I'm keeping right there. And then I've got to say, how do I get rid of this part? The way I do it is the opposite operation. Looks like we're adding here, so we're going to do subtract. This cancels out, and the 12d moves down. Bring down your equal sign and then subtract 46 from 106. Lost my pen. Borrow from the 10, make it a 9. Put one over there. Well, no, I don't have to borrow from the 10. Redo that. 6 minus 6 is 0. 4 minus 10 is 6. Okay, now I'm back on track. Next step, step 3, only one letter. Multiply, divide, or reciprocal. Opposite operation of multiply is divide. We're going to divide by 12 on both sides. Okay? So when we divide by 12, we get D equals, and 12 will go into 60 if you have to. Here, try 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 60. My answer becomes D equals 60. Okay, so we did one that is pretty straightforward, doesn't have any big bells or whistles or, situations that we need to worry about. Next. What happens if we have a problem? Make sure I use a good problem. Let's do another one of these. 13 minus 3r equals 8. Okay. In this one, we have a problem. The problem is that we have a minus sign in front of our letter. Whenever we do that, we have to have another step to it. We're going to move that over to the other side. So we add this and move it over to the other side first. Okay? Because we can't have our number, our variable, with a negative sign in front of it, or a minus sign in front of it. These will cancel out. 13 will come down. 8 plus 3r. Now we can start with step 2, isolating the variable. Anytime we have a negative sign in front of our variable, we have to move it over to the other side and make it a positive 1. I hope you see that and recognize that. That's probably the toughest part on those, okay? You got to keep paying attention to what signs we're doing and which one of the terms has that sign with it. So, now we're back here. We're going to isolate that letter. So, isolate 3r and subtract 8 to both sides. The 8's cancel out. 3r comes down. Equal sign comes down. 13 minus 8 is 5. All right. Here we go. Now we've got to divide or multiply, right? Only one letter. We're going to actually do divide because that's the opposite of what's happening. We do that. R equals 5 over 3. Can you recognize what's wrong with this problem? It's an improper fraction. We have to change it to a mixed number. Remember, this is how we do that. The top number goes in the box. Bottom number goes outside. 3 goes into 5 one time. When we subtract and get a remainder, the remainder goes up and becomes the numerator. The multiplier, the one we divided with, becomes the denominator. So this becomes my answer. 1 2/3 equals r, or r equals 1 2/3. Okay, couple of things that we covered there. Improper fractions need to be changed to mixed numbers, and when we have a subtraction sign in front of our variable, we have to move our variable over to the other side to make it positive. Let's take a look at our assignment today. I want to go over a couple of problems there that you might encounter when you're doing them, because we're going to 29 today, 1 to 29 odd on page 262. I'm going to go over one of those problems, or two. And let's look at one that's going to be kind of troublesome to us. Let's look at number 29. We're going to have to take a lot of what we covered and learned about earlier on in the year to solve this problem. Okay? So, first step. Now I know there's a lot of fractions in here, but don't let that throw you, okay? The concepts are basically the same, all right? Just because we put fractions in here just adds a different element to it, right? So the first step is we're still going to try to isolate the letter. That's this right here. So if we were to get rid of 5/6 on this side, we would have to add 5/6 to both sides. Okay? These cancel. And then I have 7/8 times n equals 3/4 plus 5/6. Now, I can't just add across right away. I have to have something else when I add with fractions, and that is a common denominator. So what's the common denominator for both 4 and 6? You could take 4 times 6, that would work, but there's one that's lower, and that would be 12. 4 times 3 is 12, and so I multiply times 3 on the bottom, I got to multiply times 3 on the top. So that changes or converts that to an equivalent fraction of 9/12. This one, 6 times 2 is 12, so I got to take the top times 2, which would be 10. Okay? So now I have a common denominator I can add across. 9 plus 10, 19 over 12. These two numbers, once we have the common denominator, don't get added on the denominator. Okay, they stay the same. All right, so I'm bringing this down. 19 over 12 is equal to 7/8n. Now we're ready for step 3. And since it's a fraction, we don't multiply, we don't divide, we do the reciprocal. 8/7 times 8/7. And now look for something to cancel with. All right? There's a number that goes into 8 and 12. You could use 2, but there's a number that's larger. 4 will go into 8 2 times. 4 will divide into 12 3 times. And then we take 19 times 2 and 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21. $19 times 2 is 38. Now we look at our answer. Okay? It's improper. So we got to make it to a mixed number. This shouldn't be too hard on this one. 21's only going to go into 38 one time. And then remember, our remainder, 8 minus 1 is 7, 3 minus 2 is 1, becomes the numerator, and our divisor becomes the denominator. These canceled out over here, leaving me with just 1n equals 1 and 17 over 21. This is the answer to number 29. Okay? You're going to have similar problems on 27 and on 25. So you're going to have to work on, when you add and subtract with those fractions, finding a common denominator and working from there. Okay, so the next step that you'll need to do, let's do one more, okay? Let's do one that's up above a little bit higher. And on these problems, they've been really nice. They didn't give us any decimals to have to deal with, just basically fractions. So let's take a look at number 23, because I think that's a unique one that we haven't covered yet either. What happens when I have a mixed number next to or multiplying to our variable? How do we deal with that? This would be number 23, and it's not 28 here, Mr. Lindblad, it's 23. So we're doing number 23 in the book. Here's how we do that. Always follow our rules. We want to isolate first, so we're going to isolate this part here and get rid of that part. Opposite operation of add is subtract. Subtract 5 to both sides. That cancels out. 2 and 2/3 n. Bring that down. Bring down my equal sign. And 23 minus 5. 13 minus 5 is 8. And I have one more. Now, before I go and try to do something, I need to change my mixed number to an improper fraction. Then we can do the reciprocal, okay? So, remember how we change a mixed number to an improper fraction? We take side times the bottom plus the top over the bottom. So 2 times 3, 6, plus 2, 8 over 3n equals 18. Now it's just a fraction, so we can do it. Only one letter by doing the reciprocal. That would be the flip version. We multiply by 3 over 8 to both sides. These cancel and leave me with one n. Only one letter. That's what I want. Now, look to cancel between 8 and 18. They're both even numbers. And by our divisibility rule, if they're both even, they're divisible by 2. So half of 18 is 9. And half of 8 is 4. And we have no more canceling to do, so we have to multiply across. 9 times 3, 27. 4 times 1, 4. Improper fraction, we've got to convert it back to that mixed number now. 27 divided by 4. 4 will go into 27 6 times. 4 times 6, 24. Subtract 24 from 27. Answer is 3. That becomes numerator. Our divisor becomes the denominator. Answer is n equals 6 3/4. Okay. I went over pretty much all the basic kind of problems that you will face on today's lesson. Today we're doing the odds of these. I'll try to do another review video with you tomorrow, a shorter one. I'll go through probably each one of the kinds of problems again and let you get started on it. Sorry about the Zoom meeting today. Hope things will go better next week. We'll see. All right. Talk to you guys later.